From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Trade tensions continue to take center stage. The Secretary of Ag offers support. The Senate debates a farm bill while the House prepares another run at immigration reform. In agribusiness, the challenges facing cotton farmers.
So it's not looking the greatest at the moment. We're starting to see the crop recover a little bit. We've been getting some needed sunshine, but it's not the best at the moment, actually.
Weather shrinks supplies of a summer favorite in the Northeast. And can you turn cheese into candy?
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clint Griffiths. Trade tensions, falling prices, drought and floods are adding stress to farm country, and officials in Washington say they're ready to help. Chinese President Xi Jinping saying his country doesn't turn the other cheek. They punch back. That's in response to new tariff threats from the Trump administration. Xi's statement dousing hopes the two trade partners can reach a settlement before July 6th, the day the U.S. plans to roll out $34 billion in tariffs. It's also the same day China says it will implement levies on U.S. soybeans and other products of the same value. On Tuesday, China announcing plans to remove import tariffs on animal feed ingredients, including soybeans, soy meal, and canola from 5 Asian countries. Those began July 1st as it looks for alternative supplies. Now, those countries include Bangladesh, India, Laos, South Korea, and Sri Lanka. Now, other than India, the countries included are relatively small soybean producers. According to Reuters, none of them exported any oilseed to China in 2017.
Our message is that we support you, Mr. President, but farm economy is really, really bad. And we just don't know how far we can go with this because we're not starting at $8 corn, we're starting at less than $4 corn. And we can't stand many challenges with tariffs in this condition.
Global trade also taking center stage this week in Grand Rapids, Michigan. That's where the 2018 Joint National Commodity Conference was held. The pro-trade organization, Farmers for Free Trade, joining the Michigan Farm Bureau to highlight the importance of trade. USDA Undersecretary Ted McKinney was the keynote speaker at the event.
The president has made the decision, enough is enough. We're going to put our foot down, and we'd love to do trade. I think he and President Xi have a good relationship. I believe that. But that said, you can be friends and still be very stern and forceful with each other, and that's what I think is going on with China.
Representatives from commodity groups also spoke to the idea of free and fair trade. They expressed concern about how tariffs are impacting their ability to compete in the global marketplace. Well, Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue writing an op-ed Monday focusing on the trade tensions and telling farmers he's working on tools to help ease the burden. Betsy Gibbon is in Chicago with the Secretary. She joins us now with more.
Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue still staying tight-lipped with what can be done to aid farmers battling trade tariffs. Analysts say he could potentially use the Commodity Credit Corporation Charter Act. Perdue admits he's looking at it, but he does not want to implement it unless necessary.
We actually met yesterday looking at the balance sheet there and what our expectations are going forward regarding our capacity to do that. So while CCC is part of the tool in there, it's not everything. And that's why we're not laying out the whole playbook for the defense to look at.
Perdue also addressing a produce crowd in Chicago about nutrition, produce safety rules, and even intellectual property. Reporting in Chicago, Illinois, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
Thanks, Betsy. The Senate working this week on its version of the Farm Bill. The Congressional Budget Office putting the Senate bill price tag at $867 billion over 10 years. The House Farm Bill will cost about the same. Members spending Tuesday debating a series of amendments and concerns. Expected amendments include issues like safety net payment limits, the sugar program, renewable fuel waivers, and dairy insurance. South Dakota Senator John Thune's looking to add more acres to CRP and include flexibility for haying and grazing, while Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell pushes to legalize industrial hemp. McConnell's key motive for speeding the Farm Bill to a vote ahead of the July 4th recess. 80% of that bill, nutrition assistance, also hearing its share of debate.
We need to consider targeted ways of ensuring that tax dollars used to pay for these nutrition programs are used wisely. And that's why we'll support an amendment that expands work requirements for those who receive SNAP benefits.
We have in the nutrition title addressed efficiencies that you have mentioned. The law currently allows states to have a job training and a work requirement. Kansas has that law.
The president stressing his wish to see work requirements in the Senate bill, but stopping short of criticizing the Senate's work. Now, across the Capitol, the House set to vote on a GOP immigration reform package. This bill considered a compromise bill between factions of the party. This week, Virginia Representative Bob Goodlatte proposing an amendment to the bill that includes several provisions targeted to agriculture, including E-Verify and changes to the H-2A program.
I can tell you the provisions in it are much better than the current H-2A program. But the cap, as you said, is a problem. So the chairman has gone to a 3-year visa. That was one of the recent changes. Before this week, it was a 2-year visa. Now he's gone to a 3-year visa for the worker. So that basically gives us a cap of 410,000 visas a year for 3 years, or 1.2 million visas, which is more than our whole workforce uses on ag farm labor. But now counting processors, we still have a concern. But again, you got so many people that aren't going to count against the cap that we believe we're going to have an available labor pool right off the beginning of almost 2 million to 2.5 million people.
Carr, a fruit grower in the South, relies heavily on that guest worker program. He says the Ag Act was modified in hopes of gaining votes. Those changes include a 36-month H-2C visa. The visa cap system says that if a cap is reached automatically, it increases. If there still aren't enough workers, the USDA Secretary can add to it. The H-2A program will overlap H-2C for at least a year. Application information used in the H-2C cannot be used for enforcement in order to protect the workers and businesses. And the USDA says that it can create a database of farm workers available on an at-will basis. As we've been expecting, the EPA releasing its proposed levels for biofuels in 2019 and 20 for biodiesel, the blending obligations mandated by the Renewable Fuel Standard. EPA mandating refiners blend 19.88 billion gallons of biofuels into the nation's fuel supply next year. 15 billion gallons is the quota set for conventional renewable fuels like corn-based ethanol. There's a 3% increase overall compared to last year. Now, it set advanced biofuel levels at 4.88 billion gallons, including at least 381 million gallons of cellulosic renewable fuel. The EPA is also proposing a 2.43 billion gallon quota for biodiesel in the year 2020. That's a near 16% increase from the gallons required in 2019. Mike Hoffman joining us now with a closer look at today's crop conditions around farm country. He has crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Clinton. A farmer in Hendricks County, Indiana, posted comments on agweb.com. He says corn looks really good in his area. It's starting to tassel already. Beans are not as good, though, due to too much rain. He sees some yellowing in that crop. They had over 3 inches of rain last week. Also from AgWeb, we heard from a farmer in Sampson County, North Carolina. He says over the past 2 weeks, they've lost some yield. Temperatures have been in the mid to upper 90s and no rain, just as the crop was heading into pollination. He thinks they lost 80 to 90 bushels an acre on the lighter soils. And taking a look at the wind speed forecast, kind of from the eastern Great Lakes into the southern plains, the windiest area to start the day today. That'll just pick up in the southern Great Lakes into parts of the northeast and a few spots far northern plains and the west. Heading into the day tomorrow, we won't start off too windy in most areas, but as we head through the day, you'll notice it picks up across the northern and central plains, back into many parts of the central Rockies and the southwest. We'll have your forecast coming up, but first here are some hometown temps.
Plan for the unexpected with weather forecast updates. Local forecasts are delivered right to your cell phone each morning, making planning a little bit easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
Cotton prices have been dropping, but there's still positive sentiments for growers in the South. We'll talk about it next at the Agribusiness Desk. And later, can cheese be considered candy? One Wisconsin producer thinks the answer is yes. Details on In the Country. Agribusiness, another mixed day for markets. Let's get details from Ted Seifert on the floor of the CME in Chicago.
We started the day a little bit higher across the board. However, we've kind of come down a little bit as the days wore on and sort of traded mixed for the corn, but soybeans and wheat have been a bit lower. You know, there's been a lot of news today, but not necessarily news that really impacts the market directly. A lot of that was coming with a little bit of a cooler forecast coming in for the second half of July, so that was a little bit bearish. But more than anything else, what we're looking for is the report that we have on Friday, the quarterly stocks report, as well as our planted acres report. This is one of the bigger reports of the year, although the trade is not expecting really very many surprises on this report. After a sharply lower day in the cattle yesterday, we had expanded limits, yet we're not using them, really not seeing much follow through to the downside. We've hit some very key technical support areas, both in live cattle and feeder cattle, both coming in trendline support, and we've been able to bounce off of that. So it doesn't feel like we're rolling over quite yet, or at least we're trying not to roll over to the downside at the moment. However, overall, fundamentals do seem to be a little bit bearish. Once again, this is Ted Seifert of Zaner Ag Hedge coming to you from the CME floor.
Our guest here at the Agribusiness Desk today, we have Ashley Arrington with Agri Authority. All right, let's talk about the cotton crop. You spent a lot of time down in the southeast. How are things looking so far?
Well, we got off to a late start. Some people that did get early planted kind of got drowned out. We had 2 weeks of heavy rain, and then Roberto came in. So it's not looking the greatest at the moment. We're starting to see the crop recover a little bit. We've been getting some needed sunshine, but it's not the best at the moment, actually.
Yeah, what about the prices? Because the prices this year seem to be very encouraging, although we've pulled back here in the last few weeks.
Prices have looked great. Even where we are now, since we pulled back, it's still profitable for almost all farmers. So last year, we started seeing some strengthening of cash prices going into harvest because of the hurricanes we had last year. That coupled with demand flowed over into 18, then with dryness in Texas, the problem I just mentioned in Georgia, that kind of pushed us up over the 90 mark. But like you said, we fell from grace since then.
So if we look out into the future here, and we're trying to figure out, okay, where's this price going to end up? Where does it settle? What are the markets telling us, or what's your indication of where we're headed?
Well, right now, speaking in terms of farmers contracting and what they've done, a lot of my guys say, hey, I've contracted as much as I want to contract right now because they're worried about low yield problems because of weather issues they've had. So looking at where we're going, if they haven't yet booked as much as they wanted to, I say, look at it here. I'm not going to tell anybody not to book 85-cent cotton, but we could just as easily go back up with positive trade talks with China, but we could easily go back down. So the future's kind of just like all commodity markets. We're looking a lot what's going on with China right now, and we're also looking at weather issues. Okay,
so there's still some uncertainty out there, but like you said, 85-cent cotton is not terrible. I'm not going to tell anybody not to book that. All right, appreciate it, Ashley. Thanks for being here. We'll be back with more Ag Day in just a minute.
For market insights and farm debt analysis, contact Ashley Arrington at 706-699-4543 or visit agriauthority.com.
Meteorologist Mike Hoffman here with a look at the root zone moisture map. Mike, as we look at this, we can see some areas have improved and some areas are awful wet.
Yeah, that is true. I think the I-80 corridor has some wet patches, obviously, parts of the Tennessee Valley as well. Montana, Wyoming, and South Texas kind of stick out as well. Now, there are some dry areas that we've always been concerned about. It's getting drier in parts of central Texas. It hasn't gotten any worse. In fact, it might have improved a little bit in places, northern Missouri and some of the surrounding states, but it's still a pocket of dryness. And you can see a lot of the west, except for the areas that got some of the leftover tropical moisture in parts of Arizona and New Mexico. You folks continue to be dry as well. All right, here's the way the map looks today. We have a storm system moving through the southwestern Great Lakes. There's some showers around that, some thunderstorms down into the warm air, parts of the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. A little bit of activity with that secondary front coming through the northern plains. That will not be a big weather maker, though. Heading through later today, we'll see more showers, thunderstorms from the eastern Great Lakes down through the eastern Ohio Valley. And on through the southern Appalachians, hit and miss through the southeast. That's kind of typical in this heat and humidity. We're not getting a lot of moisture at the moment in this pattern in the southwest during the afternoon hours. Not a whole lot bubbling up, just hit and miss here and there. We do have a developing storm system into Wyoming, kind of picking up as we head into the day tomorrow. Heading through the afternoon, then we'll see some of the moisture, especially North Dakota, maybe a few spots in South Dakota, getting some moisture with that area of low pressure and the warm front. And this is going to be some real heat coming in to parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, northern Texas and this will expand eastward as we head into this coming weekend. Here's the precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours. Some pretty heavy amounts, especially in some of the heavier thunderstorms, especially Ohio and Tennessee river valleys, southern Appalachians. Adding in the next 36 hours, you can see some more in Florida. Popping up. All depends on where those develop, obviously, and some of those same areas, but it does move into parts of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. Not a whole lot farther west over the next 36 hours or so. There's already some heat southwest Kansas and the northern Texas as we head through this afternoon. More comfortable, though, Great Lakes into the Northeast. Low temperatures tonight going to stay muggy central and southern plains and the southeast, more comfortable in the Great Lakes. And then the heat expands a little bit farther toward the north and east. These are some areas that will be close to 100 degrees in parts of the south central plains. Take a look at the jet stream. You can see that ridge builds eastward into the Great Lakes in the northeast for 2 or 3 days, and then it's cut down again by the next trough. Not a big trough, but enough to kind of take the heat out of the Great Lakes in the northeast, at least some of it, but it still remains through a lot of the central southern plains and most of the areas south of the Ohio Valley. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Laramie, Wyoming, partly sunny and hot, maybe an afternoon thunderstorm in spots, high of 94. Cairo, Illinois, mostly cloudy, a thunderstorm or two, high around 90. And Greenfield, Massachusetts, a mix of sun and clouds, high around 78 degrees.
We'll check in on watermelon harvest next on the Packer TV, and later a tasty treat from the cheese aisle of Wisconsin. The World Food Prize has announced the winners of the 2018 prize. The ceremony was held at USDA's headquarters in Washington. Doctors Lawrence Haddon and David Nabarro were announced as the 2018 World Food Prize laureates. The prize rewards their work on global food security. This prestigious award is often compared to the Nobel Peace Prize. Doctors Haddon and Nabarro will receive the World Food Prize at a ceremony at the Iowa State Capitol building in Des Moines, Iowa in October. Now, the event is the centerpiece of the Borlaug Dialogue International Symposium. The 2018 watermelon season in Delaware, Maryland, and the eastern shore of Virginia may see reduced volume and possible supply gaps this summer. Growers in the three-state region measuring 1.5 feet of rain in the past 2 months. President of the Mardel Watermelon Association saying that acreage may have been up this year if the rains had not come, but rains delayed plantings and many have reduced watermelon acreage by 20%. Yields could be off by double-digit percentages as well. And it appears watermelons from that region won't be ready for the July 4th holiday. The association saying harvest will likely begin July 20th, which is behind schedule. Still to come, sometimes you need to give kids a little incentive to eat healthy foods. Well, next we'll see what's being done with cheese in order for the kids to say please.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. Tractors, hay tools, utility vehicles, mowers, and more. Visit KubotaUSA.com today.
Do you remember how your mom used to disguise medicine, perhaps hide it in the food so you take what's good for you? Well, an entrepreneur in Wisconsin is taking a similar approach with Wisconsin's #1 dairy product. She's mixing some fun flavors into cheese snacks for children. In this video provided by the Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, find out how cow candy is making cheese a little more fun for kids.
Fruit flavors like strawberry, orange, grape, and fruit punch are popular with kids, and now those flavors are being paired with cheese in a very unique way.
Well, I don't think flavored cheese is foreign. I mean, we've seen pepper jack and other flavored cheeses for a very long time. But as I started to have my nieces and nephews and my own children, I realized there wasn't really anything fun and enticing for children in snack cheese. And I wanted to marry fruit and cheese together in a very juvenile way, kind of taking hints from the yogurt industry.
Moonaging director Danielle O'Connor came up with the idea as a way to get her children to eat healthier snacks.
It's fun to give them something that's still childlike or whimsical and fun, and maybe takes them away from over sugared things in the center of the store and gives them a healthy alternative in dairy, which I love.
Made with 100% natural Monterey Jack cheese, cow candy packs a healthy dose of calcium as well as 4 grams of protein to help satisfy the little ones.
It's very similar to a pepper jack. I mean, we are a Monterey Jack cheese, and we go ahead and we add different fruit extracts, fruit powders. In our orange, we have some orange zest even in it, and then blending it just like you would with a pepper jack cheese, really. Our colors are from natural sources. A lot of those come from fruit juice extracts, beta carotene, really simple things, simple ingredients.
This snack features local cheese and other natural ingredients to pack a flavor profile that makes kids and parents happy. There's even a honey-flavored stick to try.
We have artisan cheeses made in Wisconsin, and so it's really fun to be a part of that, even if we're kind of on the periphery of it.
And that's Wisconsin Dairy News.
All right, there you go. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in and spent part of your day with us. For Mike Hoffman and all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.